Those horrible A students, especially those horrible A+ students, I hate them. I can't stand them. They do nothing. They never study. They never have to work, and they just get an A anyway. It doesn't matter. The teacher just likes them, or they just know the answers. The answers just come to them. They don't even have to work. They don't do anything, and they just get A's. I might as well just give up because I can't compete with that. Hi, I'm Ron from L.T.L. Tutoring Central, and this week I'm talking about those horrible A+ students. If you're a parent or a teacher, you've heard this over and over again. Other students who complain that Johnny or Sally or whoever, they just get the grade. They get the grade because the teacher likes them. They get the grade because they're cute, because they're quiet, because they're just smart naturally. They never have to do anything. They party all the time, and they do well. Students, if you're listening, and if you've ever thought this, and I think probably all of us have thought this at some time or another, it's a little bit of the case of the grass is always greener on the other side. And sometimes you admire those students. You don't always think they're horrible. And of course, I don't think they're horrible. But sometimes you get a little bit jealous or a little bit resentful when it seems like someone is sailing through and you're working and working and working and struggling, and you're still getting B's or C's or even D's. However, those A students almost all of the time don't have it as easy as you think. They work. Many of them work very hard to get those A's. It might not seem like it because sometimes they conceal it. They don't want to admit it. They don't want to come out and say, I studied all night. Well, you shouldn't study all night anyway. But I studied on the weekend. I studied while you were at a party. And I read a lot. I love to read. Sometimes students love to say that, but a lot of the time they don't because they're hanging out with friends, and the friends are talking about how horrible school is, how terrible that teacher is, isn't it awful that we have to write this essay? And so to fit in, they kind of go along with that, and they minimize how much studying they do. Other students, A students or A+ students, they kind of get a kick out of saying, no, I didn't really have to study. I didn't have to work at all. I just went in and did the test. It's a breeze, no problem. Because you get a lot of sort of admiring glances as well. You might get a few people saying, that horrible A student, but you also get admiring glances and people who sort of think, wow, that guy or that girl, she really knows her stuff. And she's just so bright naturally. But most of the time, these students are working hard. Sometimes the parents are the ones that are cracking down and saying you do your homework every night for an hour or 2 hours, whatever the case may be. It's often a lot more than the average student. It's often a lot more than the recommended amount. They're often doing something on the weekends in terms of academics. But also, here's another piece that you might not have thought about. Sometimes they're studying and they don't even know they're studying. They love a topic or a subject or a course, and so they read everything they can about it. They just enjoy it. And they don't feel that they're even studying because they're just reading books or watching videos or movies or listening to podcasts, whatever. But whatever they can find on that topic, because they love it, they enjoy it, they're doing it for fun, they're doing it for their own relaxation or whatever, but they're getting knowledge because every time they read another text, every time they read another magazine article, they're reviewing, they're reciting, and of course they're reading. So they're doing all of the SQ3R that we were talking about last week. They're getting a lot of the benefits from studying, even though they don't feel they're studying. And often, A students are often going, sometimes their families, they're going to museums, they're going to learning areas, even on vacation. So sometimes, even when it doesn't seem like they're studying, they actually are. I ran into this first when I was in school. I think I was in grade 9, and I ended up in the hospital for a little while. And there was someone there, I think he was in grade 11 or 12, a few years older than I was. He was in the same room. And he was always reading physics books or science books, but mostly physics was his main interest. And I thought he was preparing for an exam or test at school when he got back out of the hospital. But no, he was just enjoying physics. He loved physics. He read everything he could about physics, talked about physics all the time. Most of the time I had no clue what he was talking about, but he talked anyway. And he talked to the nurses. Sometimes the nurses were surprised. He knew a lot more than they did about some of the science that they had studied at school as well. Now, part of that is because he was doing it currently, but the other piece was that he just loved it so much that he enjoyed it, and so he kept doing it. And he probably didn't even feel he was studying to get those A pluses that I'm sure he was receiving in physics and probably other science classes. I don't know how he did in English or something a little bit further afield, but if you start doing really well in one area, sometimes some of that at least converts. So maybe you don't get an A plus in English, you might get a B plus, but some of it would convert to other subjects and courses as well. So don't think that the A student always has it so easy or it naturally falls from the sky for them and they just are so lucky. Usually it has to do with work. However, if you've done a lot of work, if you've kept up with your studies, then it does start to become a lot easier, or at least it seems like it, because first of all, you become a better reader the more you practice. You're networking your knowledge. You're building a much wider, deeper, richer web of knowledge. The web's just not on the computer. It was in our brains long before computers existed. The web of knowledge, or the network of knowledge that you can build. If you start now, here's what you can do. You can start building a good, solid network of knowledge as well. You get that foundation, you start building, you start making connections, and you too will start to raise your grade. If you're a D or a C student, it might take a while to start getting those A's. If you're in the B's, it might not take so long. But you can get started right away no matter where you are. Even if you're failing, you can get started right away to make change. You might not be the A plus student in every course. That doesn't matter. You can raise your own game, your own grade, and more importantly, as I always say, it's not so much the grade, it's your knowledge. It's the knowledge that you want. So how do you do that? First of all, you start reading. Read as much as you can on the topics and the courses that you're doing. Try to get interested in it. Try to make connections to your real life. It doesn't have to be always logical. You might be reading something in history and say, this historical figure reminds me of my Uncle Bert. They're both crazy. They're both nuts. But of course, they're probably crazy in different ways. But you can start making connections. It'll help you remember. You know, memory techniques often are about building structures in your mind and building connections or networks, so that when you think of one, you think of another. You think, oh yeah, now I remember why he did that, or why he said that, or how that happened. So that's what you can do. Build an interest. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, but get yourself interested. Force yourself. Go in with a positive attitude, and go in with knowing that if you use good, solid study skills and strategies, you can watch some of the other videos here. You can connect with me if you want some help. I'd love to be your personal educational coach to help you along with that. But you can do it on your own as well. A lot of it has to do with self-discipline, getting yourself interested, talking to other people who are interested in the subject. See if you can find some others that enjoy that particular course or subject and start associating with them or talking to them. It could even be online. You can find a group that loves history or that loves geography or whatever the particular subject is, and start making connections and start growing your network. You can become one of those horrible A students, maybe even one of those terrible A plus students. You just have to give it a try, and yes, you can. I have faith in you. Keep trying. I know you can become just as horrible as any other A student. Of course, I'm joking. An A student would be wonderful. But even if you don't reach that level, you can reach your best level, and that's what's important. So don't worry so much about the grade. If you do the work, if you focus on the content, the grade will just follow along like a puppy dog. Don't worry about that. My name is Ron from L.T.L. Tutoring Central, and don't forget to like the video. You can make a comment or ask a question. You can connect on the website. I'll put the link below, and you can check out the information there. There are also some asynchronous courses on the online lessons, but I can also set up online lessons for you, personalized program that will be helpful just to you. So send me an email if you like, and we can connect, and we can talk. There's a free information meeting. There's just so many things that we can do together if you wish. In the meantime, get interested, start reading, and I'm sure that before long you're going to start improving. Ron from L.T.L. Tutoring Central, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week.